Happy to be here. Hare Krishna. My name is Akinchan Krishna. I'm originally from New York in America. I've been living in this Vrindavan Dham for most of the last 12 or 13 years, I guess. I don't know much about you and your group. Maybe, can anyone say something? Are you all students, or what do you do?
Yes, we are engineers.
Hey, maybe you just choose someone who can speak and say something, like who we are, what we're doing. Sorry, I don't.
We are all students from NIT Jaipur. We are engineering students.
Engineering students, wow. Super. And how long have you all associated with the Krishna consciousness movement?
There are few devotees who have come here for first time, and I am third year student, so I am associated with 1 year.
Third year student, and you associated like with ISKCON devotees for 1 year?
1 year.
Wow. Yeah. Really nice.
Would you like to ask more?
So are people coming to Vrindavan for the first time? Yeah, maybe raise your hand if this is the first time in Vrindavan. Wow, and how long have you been here? A few days?
2 days.
And some people, this is not their first time, they visited before? Alright. Maybe someone can say something, what is their experience in Vrindavan Dham? Can someone?
Experience बताइए.
Generally, when I visited some other places other than Vrindavan, then hospital name is this, school name is this, college name is this. But in Vrindavan, every name is connected to Krishna. Srimati Radharani. I saw that hospital, Radhika Hospital, or Krishna Medical Store. So I think that whole India should be like this. I think whole world should be like this.
और भी कोई बोलना चाहते तो बोल सकते हैं. क्या अच्छा लगे.
Okay. Thank you so much. Maybe we'll leave that like that. Someone have cartels?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. He's an amazing Mridanga. I've never played a Mridanga like this before. Okay, we'll try. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Vraja Janandana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Punjabi Hari Jai Radha Punjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Yamuna Tira Banachari Jai
Hare
Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Pragajikacharya Astantar Sata Shishimat His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pragajikacharya Astantar Sata Shishimat His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Namesake host Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Rajbhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Purushottam Chaitra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sisi Krishna Balarama Ki Jai. Shishi Gornitai Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Sham Sundar Lalita Vishaka Devi Ki Jai. Shishi Radhika Keshava Roy Ki Jai. Jayanita Gopremanandi. All glories to the Samud devotees. All glories to the Samud devotees. All glories to the Samud devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for dancing so enthusiastically. We were hoping to bring a nice mridanga player here, but that didn't work out. So thank you for tolerating my lame mridanga playing.
Hare Krishna.
Om Jnanatimrandasya Vinanjana Shalakaya Chakshulam Militam Yenam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidautam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sitadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vairacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
What should we talk about? What should we talk about?
Many shades of light.
Many shades of light. Basically, we all have two choices in life. We can choose boga, or we can choose yoga. Boga means what? Boga means a life for sense gratification, for our own material enjoyment. How much can I achieve? How much money can I get? How much wealth can I get? How much, how can I enjoy love and romance and whatever fine luxuries may be there? How much can I get? Yoga. There's different types of yoga. Krishna describes 3 types of yoga especially. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, and ultimately bhakti yoga. And in a way you can see them all as a progression. If you'll choose boga, then you have to accept roga. Which means you'll have to accept some bad reaction, because this world is cruel in that way. Why is somebody enjoying great success? Why is someone, born in a good family? Why is someone beautiful? Why is someone intelligent? Why is somebody, fortunate? And why is somebody unfortunate? Bad health, not a very attractive, not very intelligent, not very good family. Why is it like that? Anyway, atheistic people can't really give a good explanation. But Shastra gives a good explanation. Shastra gives a very logical explanation. Everyone is suffering and enjoying according to their past activities. That's the only way you can make sense of it. Otherwise, are we just living in chaos? Someone is just, suffering for no reason? No. That is that conclusion is too horrible. And it doesn't really make sense also. If everything is just happening by chance, then we should just live life by chance. Like everybody is studying engineering. Why don't you just get an engineering by chance? Why don't you just get a job by chance? Nobody does like that, because that's not how it works. It works that you have to follow a process, then you can achieve something. So everyone is suffering and enjoying according to their past activities. And if you will try to enjoy for your own selfish gratification, then you'll have to suffer something later. That's the cruelty of life. Because enjoying sense gratification is not our natural position. It is not, we are not the center of the universe. The center of the universe is God. The center of the universe is Krishna. And the yoga system is how to move closer, how to come closer to Krishna. By karma yoga, there's different types of karma yoga. We can work piously in such a way to elevate ourselves. Jnana yoga means, anyway, elevated or degraded in this world, what difference does it really make? It's still you'll have to suffer, the miseries of material life. Still there's birth, there's death, there's old age, there's disease. So the Jnana yogis, they want to transcend this world. But the Jnana yogis may not have a full conception of Bhagavan. They may have a full conception of the transcendental world. That you can find by bhakti yoga. That's the highest yoga. Krishna is telling us to surrender, to do bhakti. By doing bhakti, you can get all the benefits of the other yogas and more. You can transcend this material world, and you can realize your eternal relationship with Krishna. So, Prabhu was asking me to say something. I don't know if people still think like this. I first came to India in the late 90s. And at that time, seeing a foreign person, I think, was more exotic. And people were thinking like, oh my God, how is it possible that this, white elephant is trying to take up our culture in India? I don't know if people still think that way. Does anybody think that way? Not as much, right? It's not that impressive. One thing is, another thing I've experienced in all my years is that, I'm from New York in America. And actually it's a horrible place. But sometimes people think like, oh, I really want to go there. Does anybody think like that? No? Maybe it used to be a more popular thing. If I could just get to America, then I can earn like an American, and I can have comfort like an American, and I can enjoy like Americans. Anyway, whatever high standard of life, may have been there, I think that the playing field has evened out in certain ways. I think there's a lot more luxury and comfort in India now than there used to be. And I think the standard in America has gone down. So one thing is, Indian people still, although we see that it's like kind of going down. When I first came to India, not to speak of in the Holy Dham, even I remember in Delhi, you would regularly see sadhus walking down the street. They'd have like a loincloth and maybe like a water pot or something, and some dreadlocks and some type of tilak marking. I don't know what kind of sadhus they were, but they were sadhus. It was amazing. It was amazing. That was the magic of India. When I first came here, even we came to the airport and we were waiting for our luggage. The airport was so simple at that time. While we were waiting for our luggage, I remember we saw a herd of cows walk past because the door was just open space and there was just a herd of cows walking by. And we thought, wow, amazing. But a lot of that old culture has gone, that old traditional culture. Even in the temple room, only you saw like traditional dress, like saris and dhotis and that kind of clothes. Now it's mostly gone away. It's still there, some village people come, but anyway, so unfortunately this Kali Yuga is a very heavy energy. So even the Punya Bhumi, the pious land of India, still it is turning away from its original spiritual culture, which is sad. But there's still something there. And, I think Prabhupada said something like, Indian people, don't mind, I'm speaking just generally, don't take any bad thing. He said, generally Indian people, they're very close to Krishna. Maybe just a few steps, 10 steps from Krishna. But they are walking away. They are walking in the other direction. And he said, Western people, they may be 100 miles away from Krishna. But a little bit more, they're walking towards Krishna. It's a very general statement. You can't say that about everybody, but there may be some truth there. So, Indian people, there's still some remnants of culture. You see people, cultured people, they know how to relate to one another, be respectful, have nice, polite dealings. And they have some feeling for spiritual culture, for worshiping Krishna. In the West, they're confused in so many ways. They have their different religions, but those religions are weak in many ways. It's difficult to really get meaningful answers to some of the deep questions of life. Like even this question, why is someone suffering and someone else is enjoying? I was a philosophy student in university, and it's called The Problem of Evil. How do we understand that good people have to suffer? Why does God do that to people? It's a very horrible question that the Christians, they can't really give an explanation for that. It's like a big important question also, because if you want to have faith in God, but you see some seemingly innocent person is suffering, how do you understand that? So people are very bewildered. So, yeah, so spiritual culture in the West tends to be quite weak. There tends to be a lot of material opulence, and so people become absorbed in that. And then it is difficult to make spiritual advancement. By the force of this age, this time, in India we see people still have some spiritual culture, but they tend to want to imitate the Western countries. It's very unfortunate. And we've practically seen it in my own lifetime. I've been associated, like I said, I came to India a little less than 25 years ago for the first time. And I've kind of seen the progressive degradation of the consciousness overall in that time. Right, so the point is, you have a great opportunity, all of you. More than all my peers, all my friends. I grew up with I knew so many people, so many friends before finding this Hare Krishna life. And you have a great advantage over all of them, because you're actually very close to Krishna. Just you have to find the wealth that you are already so close to. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, so many shastras are there. Don't take it as just old, simple mythology, or as some, that is just the primitive thing. That's just for the old generations. Now we have, modern knowledge, modern science, modern advancement. Actually, this is a big illusion. It's a really big illusion. And you should not be captured by that. You should appreciate the depth, the wealth, the wisdom that is in these old traditions. Ultimately, they know better. The modern conceptions, the modern life, it's ending in disaster, and we feel that now. You know, this past couple of years, this Corona pandemic, you know, you just think, where is this going? You know, the whole, we're so proud of the advancement of modern life, you know, all the economic prosperity, seemingly. You know, now it looks like that's all taking a nosedive, right? People are suffering like anything. And this, you know, we've seen so many people suffer from the disease, and we've seen so many kind of evil manipulation from powerful forces to take advantage of, you know, this trying situation. To like how to exploit, how to make more profit. You know, the very wealthy people in America, they have like doubled and tripled their wealth during this pandemic time. You don't know about that? Yeah, like the super mega wealthy people. You know, before he was worth $80 billion, now he's worth $200 billion, just from this past year. How they've cleverly, you know, manipulated the situation to their advantage, taking advantage of this trying situation. It's a mess, actually. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that, but there's so much cruelty and violence. You know, animal slaughter is very prominent. The bonds of family life, like wholesome family life, this type of morality is being destroyed with illicit relations everywhere. You think in the short term, you think, oh, I got something. Actually, it's very destructive, very destructive. Like in the Western world, the family has been largely destroyed. So people they don't grow up with two parents because of all this kind of illicit dealings, right? Like in Krishna consciousness we say no illicit sex. It's actually a very important rule. When people don't follow that, you know, society descends into chaos. So many people now, they don't grow up with two parents. You know, they have an absent father, so many things. And then, you know, so many people are like depressed, and they have to take psychological medications, and it's like, you know, dealing with a big trauma is so unhealthy, actually. So this type of culture, be very careful, really careful about thinking, oh, in the West they figured out something wonderful. They didn't figure out. They figured out how to go to hell. In spiritual culture, so many important, all the most important answers, all the greatest wisdom is there. How to live healthy and happy in this world. Even you know, one of my good friends, when we were growing up, he's like kind of an intelligent guy. He became a millionaire, meaning he's having millions of dollars by the time he was like 22 or 23 years old. It's amazing. So I kind of joined Hare Krishna. And this guy, you know, he was doing business, and he was so clever how to do business. He had so much wealth. He could have purchased his parents' house, the house that he grew up in, you know, several times over by the time he was like a young 22, 23-year-old guy. We were very close in high school, and he understood. You know, I went my way, he went his way, and we lost touch for a long time. But a little bit now, you know, with social media, it's easy to connect with so many people. You know, I connected with him again. He was never envious of Krishna consciousness. He always had some appreciation. And And he told me at one point, after, I had been in Hare Krishna life for maybe more than 15 years, and he's still doing business. And he's like a business owner, many people working. And he told me, he's like, I think about you a lot. He said, I think about what you're doing and how you are doing. He said, I think that when I think about you, I think you're surrounded by many good people and many good vibrations. And that's true, right? Being in the association of devotees, especially being in the holy Dham, Kirtan, Prasadam, have beautiful transcendental philosophy to discuss and to read about and so on. He said, he said, someday I think I should join you. He said, he said, I'm running this business, and frankly speaking, I am in constant anxiety. I'm in constant anxiety. I'm just thinking to myself how every single person around me in my circle is trying to steal from me. So I think that says a lot right there. I can't say I have great amounts of wealth, not at all. I'm depending on Krishna. There's funds are a little tight actually. But how much wealth do I have in terms of beautiful association? I'm connected to world-class philosophy. I had another friend, he very intelligent person. I was studying, like I mentioned, I was studying philosophy. And he's a few years older than me. He was also studying philosophy, and he even got his PhD in philosophy. And so it means quite an intelligent guy. And if you read like this Western philosophy, it's a lot of very dense, difficult reading material. It's very dry and tricky to understand. And this guy, he became a professor, a university professor. And he was always more atheistic, and I was more theistic, and we used to debate and discuss this point. And one thing I realized, he's a very clever guy, right? More intelligent than I am. And he could never actually defeat me in debates. I understood that. And I thought, actually these atheistic people are very proud, but they don't have a conclusive truth. And he told me, years later, again, it was someone I lost touch with a long time ago, for a long time. We kind of reconnected at one point. He said, actually, I remember how we used to have all those discussions. And now I cannot be too proud. He said, before I was thinking, oh, these theistic people, they're very foolish, simple, backwards people. But then, actually, he presented many arguments that I don't have completely an answer for. And he said, even I don't accept, your philosophical conclusions about life. Still, I appreciate how you're living your life. He said, you have a philosophy that has very high values, and you are trying to live that philosophy. He said, for myself, every day I'm reading so much technical philosophy, and I'm hearing so many interesting ideas, and thinking about them, and discussing, and teaching them. He says, but practically, in my life, I just come home, and I sit with my dog, and I watch television. And so I don't have, I'm not living any kind of advanced philosophy. So he was appreciating like that. So anyway, all these are I'm just sharing a few simple experiences. I hope that's all right. I don't want you to have any illusion. Following the Western materialistic way of life will bring happiness, will bring satisfaction. Actually, it's a horrible pit to fall into. Be very, very careful. You're all very, very fortunate. You've come to Vrindavan Dham. You have nice association. You should really take advantage, try to understand the value of what's here. Prabhupada is an unbelievable, incredibly empowered Acharya. And year after year, as I'm kind of learning more, understanding a little more of what he taught, I'm just appreciating more and more how beautiful and profound the philosophy he left for us is, how it really answers all questions, and how he's such an empowered person. He's just right about everything, again and again. So I humbly ask all of you to please try to take advantage of that, utilize that. There's so many beautiful books to read, so much valuable knowledge. You know, maybe beginning with Bhagavad Gita and so many other books. Yeah, please take advantage. You're very lucky, and you have a great opportunity. And we should say this. Tell me the verse that we said we would speak about.
भारत भूमि पे मनुष्य जन्म ले यार.
Yeah, and what is the translation, Prabhu?
Those who have taken birth in the past land of India,
Yeah.
it's their responsibility to make their life successful and then preach the same.
Those who have taken birth in India, it is their responsibility to make their life successful and to preach the message of Godhead to others around the world. Right, right, that's right. And that's what this world needs, maybe now more than ever. For people to become advanced in spiritual understanding, in spiritual life, and to spread that message to others. Actually, everybody is suffering without this knowledge. I gave the two examples. My one friend, very successful in business, with so much wealth. He says, I'm always living in anxiety. And my other friend, you know, very far into technical knowledge and philosophy. He says, I'm just sitting at home with my dog. The whole world is suffering without the light of Krishna consciousness. And like, you know, Prabhupada said, people that are taken their birth in this land of India, you have the great advantage of being very close to this knowledge. Right? Like I never heard the name Krishna or what Bhagavad Gita was until, you know, sometime in my teenage years. And then it was a very foreign thing. And everybody around me is telling me like, what stupid crazy thing are you interested in? You know, please snap out of it. You know, but you all probably know about Krishna and Bhagavad Gita from, you know, practically your infancy. It's nothing new to you at all. So what a powerful advantage that is. And, you know, how much is it needed that people become serious in spiritual life and try to help others. You should learn this philosophy. You should try to convince other people about this philosophy. You should speak this philosophy. You know, you and your friends. It means studying, you know, especially Bhagavad Gita. That message is especially meant to be widely spread. Right? So, if you can learn that message, if you can help deliver it to others, speak about it in a convincing way, it's so powerful. Like, anyway, Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj also instructed him like that from their first meeting. You're an intelligent person, you should spread the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in the English language. And that's what he did in a very, very powerful, very dynamic way. And so many people got benefit from that. And, you know, now so many years have passed and still so many are in want for that type of benefit. And so we need a strong new generation of Krishna conscious leaders that can help others. Yeah, for Western people, there may be some more obstacles to take advantage of Krishna consciousness. It's not so easy, and to stay in Krishna consciousness. It cannot be overstated how so many obstacles from your background are less than from my background. Does that make sense? So many, you may have so many less obstacles to face. Not only to come to Krishna consciousness, but to stay in Krishna consciousness. So it's a great opportunity. You may feel, oh, I don't have the opportunity to earn wealth. Maybe there's some disadvantage for me to earn wealth the way a Westerner can. And it may be true. But what opportunity do you have to earn spiritual wealth, to gain spiritual wealth? It is 100 times and 1,000 times more, and millions of times more than so many of these Western people. So, there's a saying, when God gives you lemons, make lemonade. You ever heard that? It's like an idiom, English idiom. In other words, what you have, you should make use of that. So if you get lemons, okay, we have lemons, let us make lemonade. So I'm saying, you have Indian birth, so I have lemons, so I can't make, apple juice. Or I can't make orange juice, I make lemon juice, lemonade. So you have Indian birth, you don't have American birth. So you can, maybe it's more difficult to become, achieve a certain type of Western lifestyle. But you should take advantage of what you do have. This is a great opportunity to make advancement in spiritual life. I hope that's okay, I hope that's clear. Maybe we'll leave it there. I don't want to go on and on. Please forgive me for speaking too much. Anybody has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to discuss. Yes, Prabhu.
Like you're from Western background and you are a very good Indian leader. So then in your life you might have quite experiences that how the holy name transforms the life of others. Can you share some instances which you have seen how holy name like Kirtan that transforms the life of others?
How does Kirtan transform somebody's life? We've seen it again and again. When I first came to Vrindavan Dham, I met Ayendra Prabhu. Ayendra Prabhu was the first director of the 24-hour Kirtan department here in the Krishna Balaram temple. Very famous. Maybe you already know him. His Kirtan is very famous, very attractive. Everybody loves his Kirtan. So I came for the first time to Vrindavan. I was associating with devotees in America, and a couple of devotees that were a little senior to me, they suggested we should go to India, and they also suggested we should go on the Braj Mandal Parikram. I didn't know what that was, basically, but so it sounded very interesting and exciting. We will see Krishna's pastimes, and we will learn about the holy Dham. Wow, okay, interesting. Let's try it. Why not? So, actually there were several obstacles to my joining Krishna consciousness. I don't want to tell all the details, some of it's a little personal also. But I came to Vrindavan, and I was on the Braj Mandal Parikram, and it was a little bit, I was feeling, oh, I think I bit off more than I can chew. Does that make sense? Do you know that idiom? It means when you eat, you should bite nicely so that you do not overfill your mouth. Otherwise, you can't eat properly. So I was thinking, I came to Vrindavan, I was thinking, oh, I think I took on too much of this Hare Krishna thing. It's a little intense. And we were doing that Braj Mandal Parikram, and it was, quite simple and austere. We were walking, basically walking barefoot, going to different villages, and so many new things to get used to, especially for me. And then on the day of Bahulastami comes maybe 8 or 10 days into Kartik. That is the day of the appearance of Radha Kund. And on that day, on that day there's a festival at midnight in Radhakund, and everybody takes their bath because that's the time of appearance of Radhakund. It's considered a very auspicious time to bathe in Radhakund. So I was on this Brajmandal Parikram, and I was thinking like, ooh, I think this is a little intense. Maybe I should not be such a fanatic in this Hare Krishna thing. Maybe I should go back. I had left my university. I had left. I was doing music with some friends actually, and it was kind of like that music project. It was just on the verge of success, and I exited just before they achieved something. So I was a little torn. Like, was that a good decision? I'm not sure. And my parents, they really didn't like Hare Krishna. They really didn't like it. So I had many things in my mind, like some regret, some hesitation. Maybe I didn't make a good decision. So then on Bahulastami, we went to Radhakund. We took our bath, and after our bath, we had left some gamsha or some clothes or some change of clothes, right? To take bath, you just take gamsha. So we had like our belongings we kept in the Gopal Mandir, which is on the bank of Radhakund, the ISKCON temple. So we went back to retrieve those things, and Ayendra Prabhu was there, and he was doing kirtan, and everybody in that kirtan had just taken their bath in Radhakund on Bahulastami, the most auspicious time. And Ayendra Prabhu, it was something so completely otherworldly. It was something like absolutely ecstatic, how he was chanting. There was like one candle, and Ayendra Prabhu was so much emotion, he was chanting like so much feeling. And Madhava Prabhu was very famous, and he was playing the mridanga, and it was something very powerful, like some real mesmerizing vibration was going when they were doing their kirtan. And at a certain point, the tempo, the energy of the kirtan increased, and I just felt like an explosion. I had to get up and dance, and it was just really the most ecstatic thing. And after that kirtan, my mind like absolutely changed, and I thought, whatever sacrifice I had to make, whatever decision, whatever difficulty, it was all worth it. It was all worth it just to participate in that kirtan. And now and after that kirtan, I thought, that was such a profound, amazing, magical, transcendental experience, like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I felt like a resolve in myself. I thought, whatever those people did, I was thinking especially Ayendra Prabhu, Madhava Prabhu, whatever they did to be able to manifest that type of kirtan, right? They must have done so much sadhana, so much devotional service. Maybe they learned something about music. So much experience doing their kirtan seva. I thought, I have to do that. That was something so powerful. So anyway, so that was my personal experience. I felt like that from kirtan, I felt a great conviction in the process of Krishna consciousness and the power of Krishna consciousness. So I can say that's a humble story how the holy name affected me. And I saw with many other devotees, especially around Ayendra Prabhu, he was very, very powerful. There was many young people. I think without his influence, where would they be? You can sort of see they would be much more in a materialistic side. But by his influence, by doing kirtan with him, it really helped them improve in their Krishna consciousness. They became much more serious and fixed and focused. So I've seen that for myself and for many of my friends. Is that okay as an answer, Prabhu? Anybody else have any comment, question, something? Yes, Prabhu.
How can we control sense gratification? Yeah. Our practice is getting a higher taste. Like an analogy I heard just as a brand new devotee, they said if you see a child and that child is playing with a dangerous object like a knife, if you just take the knife from the child will cry because that was something to play with. Now, if you take the knife and you replace it maybe with a toy or some candy or some snack or something, then the child will not complain. Why? Because now he has something better. With the knife, you need to take that knife from the child because he can hurt himself. It's a very dangerous thing. But he is attached to that thing because he's a foolish child. But if you give something better, then giving up the knife is not a big stress. So the main thing is we should try to find shelter in Krishna consciousness. We should try to find good association. We should try to find spiritual literature to be absorbed in. We should try to find, there's japa, there's kirtan, there's classes. There's so many services. Practically, there's endless opportunity if we're interested for positive spiritual engagements to get absorbed in. We should do our best. And as individuals, we may have a little bit different tastes. And that's fine, because there's a whole variety of things, available to you in Krishna consciousness. So for myself, I kind of went more in the direction of, I wanted to know about kirtan and, all the things related to that. And someone else, there may be other things. Someone is interested in cooking and prasadam or deity worship or shastra and speaking and so many other types of activities. Book distribution, preaching, how to, service, right? There's endless things to get absorbed in. The more you can put yourself into positive spiritual engagements, that's like replacing the knife with the toy. Now that's you want to find a higher taste. As much as possible, we have our five senses. We should think, what am I seeing? What am I touching? What am I tasting? What am I smelling? What am I hearing? And we should exchange all of that. I'm seeing too much, karmi movies or something. What can I replace that with? I can replace that with something, with spiritual things. I can see the deities, I can see the shastra, I can see the devotees. Like that. So, by your own intelligence, you should steer the thing. Steer your body, steer your mind more and more to the side of devotional service. Is that okay for you? Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can you share your personal experience that what brought you here to Vrindavan, and how could you manage to understand the technique that you are staying there and serving Krishna?
I didn't hear everything you said. How did I come to Vrindavan and what?
How did you manage your friends, your parents, that you are here and serving Krishna?
Right.
This is the question.
How did I manage my parents for coming to Vrindavan?
That you are staying always there and serving Krishna.
Right. It's funny, I came to Vrindavan for some long period. At one point, I interrupted my university study, and I came to Vrindavan for a long time. And then I went back and I completed my university study. And then at the time of completing my university study, I told my parents, okay, so now after I finish my university study, I will go to Vrindavan for for 6 months. And they became really upset. They said, when are you going to get over this? And I said, it's not like that. So I always tried to maintain good relationships with my parents. I was never. You have to see by your own intelligence. Some people, they're able to like really preach to their parents, or really, convince them like, look, I found Krishna consciousness. You should also see what this is about. With my parents, it was much more slow. One thing is, I tried to give prasadam to them sometimes, and actually that was powerful. I'm actually impressed, like amazed actually. It was a little miraculous how they began to really appreciate prasadam. I'll just tell a few stories. In New York City, there's a devotee who makes donuts. Everyone knows what a donut is. It's like a sweet cake of round bread. And so he makes all these donuts, and with all different flavors and whatever. It's just like a sweet. And he has a very nice arrangement so that they're offered to Jagannath deities. He says, the eyes of Jagannath, they look like donuts, so I like to offer them to Jagannath. And he has a very nice arrangement. It's like a super advanced professional thing. His donuts are famous. It's amazing. And many devotees are like super addicted to those donuts. They're, very tasty. So a few times I brought those donuts to my parents. And then, so much time had passed, and, another time, some years later, I was visiting them, and I kind of saw in their refrigerator, hey, they're having prasadam donuts in their refrigerator. And so I asked about this. I said, hey, you got these donuts? Because they're distributed very widely. And there was a market close to my parents' house where those donuts were available. And independently, all on their own, they were now getting those donuts and taking that prasada. So it was like something amazing. So my parents were very, very antagonistic initially. But that was one development that I thought was like, wow, somehow by taking prasadam. With my parents, it was never a question of discussing philosophy. No, that was not a good strategy. They just became irritated. They really didn't like that. But prasadam, that was like something they could understand, and they liked it. Later, actually I was married here in Vrindavan. I married in 2012. And my parents came here. They came to Vrindavan, which was also amazing, right? What a great opportunity. And they came, I was married on the Purnim, like basically just as all the Kartik Vrats finished, because you're not supposed to marry in Chaturmasya, so just when it finished, we had our wedding program. So they came actually for the last couple of days of Kartik. They offered candle at Krishna Balaram temple. During Kartik we're offering candle every night. And it's very beautiful. And so they took their candles, and I don't know what they thought or what they understood, but they took that. And the little lamp, this comes in a little clay lamp. My mother still to this day, she saved it. Like she took it as like a souvenir. So they came to Vrindavan. They came to a Kirtan program. And we did a Kirtan program with His Holiness Bibi Govinda Maharaj. And all the devotees were very, very nice how they treated my parents. And so Bibi Govinda Maharaj, he personally was very kind to them. He seated them nicely, greeted them, and welcomed them. And then, kind of like, he made me lead the Kirtan in front of them. So I had to lead the Kirtan. At the end of that Kirtan, my parents, my father was actually in tears. And he said, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like, that was was like, wow. And then there were very nice devotees who prepared the feast at our wedding. They were really expert arrangements. And there was this very nice Mataji from Mumbai, actually, who was a disciple of Indradumna Swami. She prepared the feast, and my parents were like absolutely impressed. You know, they just loved it. Anyway, you know, later there was they wanted to have a family gathering in America, and somehow I thought it was going to be so mundane. They wanted to go to a restaurant. I convinced them that we would have the same type of gathering, but we would make an arrangement that devotees could cater it, and that we would have Krishna Prasadam at that family gathering. And somehow they were actually amazingly agreeable to that. And they said, okay, yes. He said, we know that the Hare Krishnas have very nice food. And so they were immediately agreeable to that. The prasadam was outstanding. The local temple devotees in New York prepared an outstanding feast, and everyone at that gathering loved it. And so slowly like that, actually, there was a senior devotee that came to that family gathering. And at the end of it, he said he was standing in the elevator with my father. And he said, you know, my father said to the senior devotee, he said, you know, all the Hare Krishna devotees that we have met are first class. Like, you know, devotees were like very nice with them, and the prasadam was so expertly made, and they just appreciated. Devotees have their quality. And my parents perceived that, even though they thought it's such a horrible thing what I got into. Then they met so many devotees, and they appreciated, actually these people are quite nice. Anyway, so like that. There was another time, we were in America, and again, after some time, and we were in New York at the time of the New York Rath Yatra, which is a very grand event. And so we were saying, yes, we will go to that Rath Yatra program. And my father, he said, the Mataji that prepared that feast that they had in America, her name is Mother Satya, very wonderful devotee. So my father, he said, we said, we will go to the Rath Yatra. He said, will Mother Satya be cooking? And I said, yes, I think so. He said, oh, maybe we should go too. So anyway, like that, especially by good association, by Krishna Prasadam, we've kind of seen an amazing development and transformation. I didn't really start with all the stories of how heavy my parents were, but they really, really, really didn't like Krishna consciousness. And now they've become more soft, more favorable. I don't think they're ready to take it themselves, not even close. But they don't, they appreciate there's some quality here, there's something nice here. So they've softened quite a lot. They understand, I have a life here in Vrindavan, I have things to do, I'm happy here. And so they've kind of come to accept it. Sorry I took so long to tell that, but I hope that was all right. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu.
My question is simple. What is your life goal before coming to Vrindavan and after?
What was my life goal before coming to Vrindavan? Well, I think that before Krishna consciousness, I was absolutely aimless, because when I was living in a society and it looked like there was no meaning to this society. Everybody is struggling to study, get their education, and struggling to work, and struggling to establish, their material life and their situation. But there's so many problems, and it's a huge struggle, and the result looked very unattractive, because I saw, so many people I saw in so much distress, The families where the parents get divorced. My one friend, one of my close friends, his father committed suicide, which was like a horrible, horrible tragedy and something that was very devastating. And the father was very successful, like a very successful businessman who had acquired a lot of wealth. And anyway, there was for whatever horrible reason, he did that thing. And his son, who was my good friend, was like super traumatized. So, you see all of these like unfortunate, horrible things, and you think like, what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this struggle? So actually from a very young age, I thought, I don't feel like this struggle has any fruit. There's nothing, it's not like really worth it. Why do I have to live my life like these people? So I was really looking for like better answers for like meaning of life. So when I found Prabhupada's books, and it took me some time to like clear my doubts and become convinced in many ways, but I appreciated, here's something better. And it was maybe a progress of some years before I came to the point where I felt I should surrender to this. I should try to do devotional service for Krishna. There's something meaningful. There's something like a worthwhile goal. There's something where people have some happiness and satisfaction, not because they're materially opulent, but because they have a spiritual satisfaction. So, and then coming to Vrindavan, I was very attracted to Vrindavan from my first visit. Meeting Ayendra Prabhu was very, very important. And I had a long relationship with him, and he always was preaching to me about staying in Vrindavan, trying to serve in Vrindavan. And basically by his influence, I felt I should try to be here and try to serve here. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Hey, yes, Prabhu?
We cannot live in spirituality, so how can I involve into the...
Can you start again? I can't hear you nicely.
My friend is pursuing science.
You're pursuing science.
He is not interested in spirituality. So how can I involve him into the...
Yeah, how can you involve your friend who's into science? Just having like intellectual debates and discussions, it may not get very far. That's my experience. We come to Krishna consciousness based on some past sukriti. There should be some background. Like Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, no one becomes a devotee without some previous connection. So, so your friend is lucky that you are his friend and that you have some interest in helping him in his Krishna consciousness. I would say, use your intelligence. What can he appreciate? What can he accept? Maybe prasadam is a very powerful tool. If there's some prasadam that you can share with him, just by your own example. If he's like the example I gave of my friend, he's saying, I think about your life. Actually, it looks really nice. So if you can give some example like that. Something else was in my mind to say. Yeah, that's maybe chanting. Maybe there's something, right? Like many people can appreciate Kirtan, even if they can't accept many other things about Krishna consciousness. But chanting Krishna's names, doing Kirtan, dancing, clapping, something about that they can appreciate. So, like that, maybe you can, help him. And then on his own, by his own inspiration, he will have to decide. But you can just try to be the best influence that you can. Help give him some Krishna consciousness. Tell him, I appreciate Krishna consciousness. This is why. some festival is there, or some program, so, feast program or whatever, some sangha is going on. Hey, do you want to come? Yeah, something we're discussing, there's some devotional perspective. Hey, listen to this. Hey, I read this, I really liked it, what do you think? This kind of influence.
If anybody is having any type of question, you can directly ask without any hesitation. Probably will answer. Don't hesitate. You can flatly ask. आप खुल के प्रश्न पूछिए, है ना? बिल्कुल शर्माने घबराने की जरूरत नहीं कि कैसे पूछें, क्या पूछेंगे, नहीं, जो है दबा के पूछिए, ठीक है?
I see, okay.
तो जिसका भी प्रश्न है खुल के पूछिए. One question was probably unanswered, remained unanswered. That what forced you to leave America and come to India?
Yeah, what? No, I did answer that. Basically, on my first visit to Vrindavan, I really felt deeply attracted by that, especially by Ayendra Prabhu's influence. I was influenced to spend more and more time here. Yes, Prabhu.
Sometimes we not get desire to chant.
Sometimes we don't have the desire to chant 16 rounds. What should we do? If we don't want to do it, we should do it as our duty. And if we continue like that, then we'll also want to do it. Yes, Prabhu.
Many times this kind of situations are happening in our mind that we are serving the Lord in many ways. We put jharu on the all the research and doing maybe I thought that what Krishna is thinking, maybe devotees are doing some small sevas and maybe devotees are doing big sevas. They're reaching so many big rich people and some devotees are doing some small things like seva or God's so is there any kind of Krishna is doing some discrimination that is very high and that's very low because many times that point are coming in our mind.
Are some sevas high and some sevas low? There's the example of Hanuman, and they were building the bridge to Lanka. And Hanuman was very powerful, and he was able to do so much to build that bridge. And then there was a very small entity. What was that, an ant or? Huh? Squirrel. And so that squirrel was also working to build that bridge, but their capacity was much, much less. So maybe Hanuman was a little bit smiling or thinking, what is the squirrel doing? But was it Ram? Ram was appreciating. No, the squirrel is doing its best. We should really appreciate. So according to our capacity, according to our nature, according to our authority, whatever service is there, Krishna will appreciate. If if we do our best. Maybe someone's service is to wash the pots or to do some simple menial thing. It's also very nice, actually. Sometimes big service, and it also comes with some big ego or something like that. That gets mixed in. I'm doing something big, and someone is just washing, the kitchen, and they think, oh, I'm just a simple kitchen cleaner. But if something is done with sincerity, with humility, with real Krishna conscious prayer and aspiration, definitely Krishna will appreciate it. So actually it's a non-issue. Is my service big or is it not big? Is it pleasing to Guru? Is it pleasing to the Vaishnavas? Am I doing, sincerely to the best of my ability? That's the important question. Not is it big, is it small?
When we used to go over others, our parents are used to getting donation values. So due to that, we are unable to get service. So what should we do for that?
Yeah, we have to spend time with our parents, and the parents are eating onions and garlic. That's a tricky one. We have that problem too. I personally cannot tolerate onions and garlic. So I just make every single effort. Ideally, if you can, maybe if you can speak nicely but frankly to your parents, I cannot take this. Maybe if you can cook, one thing. Anyway, my wife and I were visiting my parents maybe once or twice a year, and we would bring some like cow dung soap and use it and wash their pots, and then we would offer to cook. We did that many times. Maybe if that's a solution. It's tricky. I mean, if they're stubborn, but if mom loves you and it's not a big thing to ask, probably, right? It's not like a radical change, and we take without onions and garlic. Yeah. Do your best. Do your best to try to manipulate the situation, whether it's your cooking or speaking nicely to them or something like that. I think just by your intelligence, by your inspiration, you can do the best you can with that. I wish you good luck.
Parents are used to fear that we will leave everything and we will go to somewhere else and don't care about the future.
Well, is it your idea to do that? Is it your idea to leave them and do something else? I see. And so it's just the fear, but you don't feel that that's what you want to do. So you can try your best to reassure them.
Sometimes they prevent us from not doing devotion.
Say again?
They stop us from doing devotion.
Anyways, it's a tough balance. I mean, some people are like, some people are able to be like real tyagis. Ayendra Prabhu, he at one point his father was dying, and he got a letter. They found him in Vrindavan, and at first he said, anyway, they wanted maybe to hear from him or something, that he would speak to his father because his father was passing away. And Ayendra's first reaction was to think, anyway, I've had so many parents in this material world. I've had dog parents and cat parents. And, so many species of life have had parents. What's the meaning of his parents? He was thinking like that. Anyway, but then some other things happened. He actually didn't take such a strong, harsh attitude. He was able to nicely deal with his father at the end of his father's life in a Krishna conscious way. So, yeah, best we can to try to be strong and determined in our own Krishna consciousness, not compromise our principles, but also be careful not to scar the relationship with our parents and upset them too deeply. Maybe by speaking nicely to them, by being sweet with them, by offering to help and serve in different ways. You can try to pacify them and arrange the situation so that, if you need to live with them or whatever, that you can manage the situation so that you can go on in your Krishna consciousness in a strong, firm way without compromising your principles, your values, but without disturbing them too much as possible. That's my humble advice. I hope that's all right. Parents are important too, there should be some regard for them. We should not absolutely disregard them. The ultimate principle is that Krishna is our real mother, Krishna is our real father. By serving Krishna, all service is accomplished. And so we want to be very strong in that. We don't want to compromise our service to Krishna. At the same time, we should do our best with our family that as best as we can, that they're not disturbed and they're not hurt by our choices. It's a fine balancing act. You can pray to Krishna for inspiration and intelligence, how to manage the situation. Everyone's situation will be a little different. Parents are going to have a little bit different mentalities.
Sometimes we have high mental speculations, like for sense gratification or anything else. Here we are doing good, something good, but in home we go, like society, all are saying for the sense gratification or television or everything is saying same things. So you have to get job or anything, you have to live your life like something. So we can avoid them. Like even if you get call from home or from a relation, they show their problem like this is happening here, or so our mind shifts directly there. So how can we avoid them?
Say your question again.
Prabhuji, how we can avoid our high mental speculation sometimes?
How we can avoid high mental speculation? I think the simple answer is you should be under the shelter of the Vaishnavas. Maybe Guru, maybe just senior Vaishnavas, and we should try to take help and guidance from them. Because life will pose different challenges, how to navigate them, right? There's school, there's work, which may include so much association with non-devotees, so many bad influences. How can we navigate all these things? How can we make the right choices? Because everybody's life choices has to be individually matched to their nature, their capacity. You can't just give one formula for everybody. For somebody it may be appropriate to be in school and to work and so on. But how to progress in Krishna consciousness? We should be under the shelter of the devotees, and they can give us guidance. For somebody maybe it's very good, they become a brahmachari and they renounce everything. For somebody else that's not the best advice. And so according to the individual, their nature, advice may be a little bit different. But anyway, we should take shelter of the devotees, have some senior Vaishnava guide, someone with some maturity and some experience, some vision, they can give us good guidance, good advice for how to progress. Is that okay?
came Vrindavan took care of cows, dens, and put in Vrindavan are opposite direction of opposite to the Yamuna river. So how we can help the cross the river?
How did Krishna and the cows, how did they all cross the river? When they went from Gokul like to Nandagram or Jatigar? Yeah, they must have used boats. That point is not described in Bhagavatam. That's an interesting question. That just came up the other day. How did they cross the Yamuna? You know, sometimes when you're at the Yamuna, we've seen this. I'm not saying this is what it was, but I've seen this several times, and it's something very astonishing and beautiful. You have like a cowherd, and he has his stick, and a lot of these, like, you know, these Vrindavan cowherds, they really look like they're from a different age. You know, some like rough, like strong, you know, cowherd, and he has his whole herd of cows, and they need to cross the Yamuna. So how do? The cowherd, along with all the cows, they get in the Yamuna and they swim across. And it's something so astonishing, because you would think, how can these cows that are, you know, they're weighing like 1.5 or 2 tons, and they just have these skinny little legs. How are they swimming? But they're swimming. They can do that. So, yeah. So a combination maybe with boats, by swimming. That's how you cross a river. That's how they must have done it. Should we end there? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So we are very thankful to Witness Akinchan Krishna Prabhu for giving so much of his valuable time. Many of you are new, so you might not be knowing that much, but if you go on YouTube and just put his name, you will find so many number of videos leading Kirtan. And if you hear Kirtan, you will mesmerize as you are glorifying another Prabhu. Similarly, Prabhuji's Kirtan also very touching to the heart and very. If you want to dance, just attend the Kirtan of Prabhuji. Prabhuji is doing Kirtan Seva in the temple and other many important services. So we are very thankful to Prabhuji for giving so much of nectar from his own life realizations and from Shastras. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So we chant to show our gratitude and thanks to Prabhuji by once loudly chanting Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai.
Jai.